at high schools and we talk about financial aid, we go through the grants, oh, everybody's happy, and oh, they're all gonna get scholarships because their kid's the smartest, the brightest, the cutest, the most talented ever on the face of the earth. And then talk about work, yeah, we'll make Susie work, I guess, if we have to, you know. She's such a fragile child, she might not be able to work. And then they can borrow the loans, which almost all of you parents and students are gonna borrow a loan, is what I'd say. Almost everybody borrows a loan. And then parents, you too can go further into debt to pay for your child's education with a parent loan, okay? You can't have a parent borrow more than the cost of attendance. And if they have other financial aid, you have to take cost of attendance minus other expected financial aid, and that's the maximum parent loan. Interest rate, 7.21% at this point. Now, before we talk about grad borrowers for parent loan, there are some circumstances where dependent students can actually borrow more than that $2,000 in unsubsidized loan every year. So these are situations that are exceptional or unusual. Situations where the parent is not able to borrow a parent loan. It could be because parents are incarcerated or their whereabouts are unknown. And in some of these cases, you may in fact have even done a dependency override and made these young people independent students. The parent filed for bankruptcy and has a letter that says from the judge, if Thomas has filed for bankruptcy, sorry Thomas, he is in good shape financially, so don't worry about that. This is just a made up example. But Thomas is prohibited by our bankruptcy arrangements from borrowing any additional money, okay? So that's an unusual circumstance. Or you have people on public assistance or Social Security supplemental income. Hello? Where is a parent loan payment coming from that income? Okay, so these are circumstances where you can say, you know, as a result of these circumstances, we believe that Rosemary, the parents are unable to borrow a parent loan, so Rosemary can borrow the $2,000 unsubsidized loan plus the $4,000 that an independent student could borrow. You have to document the situation. Another reason why students could borrow the additional money is if a parent applies for a parent loan and gets the big D for denial. Okay. But you know, you may not have experienced it yet, but invariably there's a parent who applies for a parent loan just 100% sure he's going to be denied and he gets approved, and then this is not a happy situation. And let me also tell you that you have, anybody ever have students whose parents are divorced? Exactly. And you're just like, which Mrs. Smith am I talking to? Would this be the mom? Would this be the stepmom? Would this be somebody else? I'm so happy. And we just don't care who's responsible for paying these bills. Leave the financial aid office out of your personal family situation, right? But you get into it. But just as a reminder, okay, the parent and the student have to file a FAFSA to borrow a parent loan. Going to give you 3 scenarios to help you understand which parent, because as we know, the parent on the FAFSA may or may not be the functioning parent in the family, right? It could be 2 different things. If dad and stepmom file the FAFSA, the student lives with dad and stepmom, either one of those parents can borrow a parent loan. Dad can borrow one, stepmom can borrow one, because stepmom's information's on that FAFSA, okay? They're the parents for financial aid purposes. If the biological or adoptive mom wants to borrow a parent loan, she can. But if the stepdad, who has no FAFSA relationship or biological or adoptive relationship with the student, wants to borrow a parent loan, he cannot. Okay? So it can get a little complicated, as to who the parent is and how many people need to be denied. Only one person needs to be denied, okay? And if the first parent is denied, they don't have to keep applying until they find somebody who's eligible. It's like when students are talking with you about their special circumstances, and sometimes they start telling you things and you think, please stop talking. I don't want to stop. I could have helped you if you had stopped at this sentence, but now you've shared all this other information, and now I'm selecting you for verification, Tammy. I'll be happy for you. You should have been quiet, right? So they don't have to keep trying to get a parent loan. One being denied is enough. Any questions about that? Parent loan repayment begins 60 days after the loan's dispersed, but the repayment can actually be deferred so that it lines up with the student's enrollment. So as long as the benefiting student is enrolled at least half time, the parent can defer payment on that loan. There is this little thing called interest that's accumulating on the loan. So you do want to make parents aware of that. And they have to keep requesting that enrollment. And then they can actually get the 6-month grace period, if you will, deferment also. Repayment options. There's the standard repayment, and that's probably what you may most often talk to your students about. You pay at least $50 a month, 10 years to repay your loan, happy, right? And that's really what the vast majority of people who are repaying their loans use, the standard repayment plan. Then there are graduated repayment plans and income-based repayment plans that basically start out with smaller dollar amounts every month because people are just starting out in their career. And then theoretically, you're going to get raises as you go along, and you're going to develop your portfolio, and you're going to earn more money, and your payments are going to increase. Here's the news flash. That's not going to happen to you when you're in financial aid. You're going to either develop a passion for the job and say, oh, well, I wasn't doing anything most evenings and Saturdays anyway. I'm happy to work. I want to be here and make people's dreams come true. Or you're going to say, God, I should have gone into student activities because it would not be as stressful. And you'll find something else, okay? So I would pick one of these if I was you and I was in financial aid and planning to have a career in financial aid. Income-driven repayment plans. The income-based repayment plan basically gives borrowers the opportunity to make very low, sometimes zero payment, $0 amount payment that counts as an on-time payment based on low income. Okay? Now, there's still interest accumulating on that loan, and after 25 years, whatever balance is left on that loan, which could, in fact, be more than the person borrowed to begin with, that's going to be reported as income on that individual's federal income tax return. But my second son, my middle son, is in IBR because I figure I'll be dead in 25 years when he has to claim that income, so it won't matter to me that he's going to be upset about it. Okay? But it's a very attractive option. Basically, you're going to be limited to either 15 or 10% of your discretionary income, which is really the amount of the borrower's income that exceeds 150% of the poverty level for that state and that borrower's family size. So we're not going to go into details about all of this. Just know that the federal government has done a great deal to encourage people to use the income-based repayment plan, because there are a lot of benefits for people who are not making a lot of money. And it is certainly an option that your students can take to avoid delinquency or defaulting on a student loan. And you care about their default, right? Because you have this little thing called a cohort default rate. That if it gets too high, you're in trouble. You could lose eligibility to participate in federal student financial aid programs. If you keep your default rate under 15%, You get some benefits. If you get it under 5%, you get some benefits for study abroad programs and things. So it's to your advantage to encourage people to use the tools that are available to them. Transfer students, we talked a little bit about that. And here's the fun part about loans, too, is that Johnny from Davidson County Community College, one of my favorites. So let's say that Johnny is a student at Davidson County Community College, and he's taking 6 credits. And he is so pumped up about learning. He also is a full-time online student at UNC Charlotte. He can borrow a loan at both places. Isn't that great? He can only get Pell at one place, but he can borrow a loan at both schools. And it is the financial aid office's responsibility to know that Johnny's doing that, and to make sure that Johnny does not exceed the appropriate annual and aggregate loan limits. So, something unique in the loan programs. Have any of you run into a situation like, have you? It was fun, huh? No. Did that person also try to get 2 Pell? Oh yeah, they like that. But I'm a full-time student at both schools. My favorite is, we had a student who was taking classes at another school and tried to do Pell. And when we were making adjustments with the loans to see what loans she could keep, we were adjusting the cost of attendance. We're like, okay, well, tuition and fees at this school plus tuition and fees at this school. Books plus books. And I said, room. She said, I only get to count that once. I'm pretty sure you're only living one of them. How many meals are you eating every day? 6 or 3? So you have to make sure there's no duplication of costs in that. She was a pretty robust individual, so she may have been eating 6 meals a day. I was pretty sure she should only have these particular expenses. She wasn't happy with me, but that's okay, I didn't care. In the end, I kept all my Pell Grant money, and I let her be mad at the other school because she had to pay them back. Not my problem. Boy, that revealed a lot about me, didn't it? Okay, so we already talked about this. If you have an associate's degree program that's 2 years, you can't let them borrow more than the 2nd grade level. All right? And you have to prorate if the remaining period of time is less than an academic year. An academic year, by the way, is generally 30 weeks, unless you have a waiver. There's more information about the proration. Have any of you had to deal with proration? Like, I know a lot of you have been in the world of higher education longer than a few years, but you work outside financial aid, and these 3 days are designed to make you feel very thankful of that, right? So some of you are in that situation, right? Yeah. Currently, yeah.
I am right now.
Well, don't let them suck you into financial aid. And then how many of you have worked long enough in financial aid that a lot of this is like, yeah, I've done this, I know about this, or oh my God, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. And you just wrote yourself a note, and you just, that's between you and your paper and your director, and don't you worry about it. And then is there anyone here that is truly so new that you have anxiety sitting here, and you really, the terms are getting away from you? Because I forget. Anybody that new? I'm sorry, Meredith. I'm sorry. Do you have to go back to Kingston tonight? Oh, just tomorrow. So you can go out and you can apologize, because I should have asked that earlier, because I really don't qualify for the senior discount despite the silver hair. But I started working in a financial aid office
But
when
she
I...
did take advantage of getting it when they gave it to her.
And she was so funny. She's like this. I gave you a discount, and I said, oh, thank you. It was 90 cents I saved. I can buy a soda. It's not a problem. I am not a proud person. I worked in financial aid for a long time. I don't have a lot of money saved for my retirement. I've got to take advantage of everything I have. Okay?
It's like dog years.
It is dog years.
Working in financial aid.
It is. But okay, so here's the question. I started working in financial aid 2 weeks after I graduated from high school. I was a work study student because the financial aid director at the local college happened to live in my neighborhood. And despite the fact that I babysat his child one time and threatened her with a few things that probably now I'd be arrested. He still hired me. So